Welcome to jury service. For most of you, receiving a jury summons in the mail was a wonderful surprise. We understand, but please understand this. By serving as a juror, you are fulfilling a critical role of citizenship. The right to trial by jury is guaranteed by the United States Constitution and the Illinois Constitution. That's because one of the things that keeps us free as a nation is
You,
the juror. Before the government or anyone else can convict you of a crime or take away your money or property, you're entitled to a trial by a jury of your peers. The right to trial by jury was one of the cornerstones on which our nation was built, something that our founders fought and died for and enshrined in our Constitution. Now, you probably have questions, and we'll try to answer some of them. Jurors in Illinois are randomly selected from lists within your county of registered voters, driver's license holders, unemployment claimants, and holders of Illinois identification cards. Anyone from those lists can be called for jury duty. Even elected officials like the governor, even judges, anyone can be randomly selected. There are two different kinds of cases. The first one is a criminal case. A criminal case is where the government accuses someone of committing a crime. The party making the charge is known as the prosecution. The prosecution will also be known by its governmental name, the people of the state of Illinois. You may hear the judge refer to prosecutors as the state. The lawyer representing the prosecution is the state's attorney. The state's attorney of your county prosecutes criminal cases. The person accused of the crime is known as the defendant. The defendant is usually an individual. The defendant may have a lawyer, or sometimes defendants choose to represent themselves. The second kind of case is a civil case. A civil case is a lawsuit that does not involve criminal accusations. It's a dispute between two parties that usually involves one side requesting the payment of money from the other side. The party filing the lawsuit is known as the plaintiff, and the party defending itself is, once again, the defendant. The plaintiff or the defendant could be private citizens, they could be corporations, and they might even be a governmental unit. And sometimes these parties sue each other back and forth in the same lawsuit. The fact that you have been summoned does not necessarily mean that you'll become a juror. You may be asked to fill out a questionnaire for basic information about you and your background. At some point, you may be escorted to a courtroom. If you are, you'll be part of a group from which jurors are selected. You might be one of the jurors, you might not be. Once in the courtroom, you will be asked additional questions, sometimes by the lawyers and sometimes by the judge. This is a process called voir dire. I was just about to explain that. That's okay. Voir dire means the lawyers and judge ask you questions about you, your background, your opinions, things like that. It is important that you answer the questions truthfully. That's what voir dire means. It's Latin for speak the truth. You You could be asked any number of questions. They might be personal questions, but please understand nobody is trying to insult or harass you. The reason they ask you questions is to see if there is something about your life or background or opinions that make you less suitable for that particular case. For example, you may be asked if you or a loved one has ever been the victim of a crime or accused of a crime or convicted of a crime. You may be asked if you or a loved one has ever sued somebody or been sued. If your answer to any of these questions is yes, you'll probably be asked follow-up questions. And some questions will depend on the kind of case. If the case involves a car accident, you may be asked if you've ever been in a car accident. If one of the parties is a bank, you may be asked if you have any accounts with that bank, things like that. Please remember, the goal is to get a fair and impartial jury. If it was your case and you had to select 12 people to decide it, you'd want people who are fair and impartial, right? So just listen carefully to the questions and tell the truth. Now you're getting it. If you feel too embarrassed to answer the question in front of other prospective jurors, you can ask the judge to let you answer privately. And also understand your answers will be confidential to this case. The judge will decide who serves on the jury with input from the lawyers. At some point during your questioning or afterward, you may be excused from service and you are free to leave. You don't need to be concerned with why you were excused. If you have a hardship that makes it impossible or very, very difficult to perform jury duty, you can inform the judge, but please understand, it has to be a very good reason.
Your Honor, I'd love to be a juror, but I have a begonia plant that needs constant love and attention.
That's probably not going to cut it.
I have 2 tickets to the Cubs-Cardinals game today.
Sorry.
I have to give my hamster a manicure.
Your Honor, whatever crime is charged in this case, I'm pretty sure I was a victim of that same crime once. What was the crime in this case? Murder? Yes, I think I was a murder victim once.
Remember, you have to tell the truth. There are several stages of the trial. Trials usually begin with opening statements by the lawyers. Then the plaintiff or prosecution presents evidence and witness testimony. The defense may choose to present evidence and witness testimony too. Then the lawyers make closing arguments to you. After closing arguments, the judge will give you instructions on how to deliberate and on the questions you'll be required to decide. These instructions will explain the burden of proof, the elements of the claims in the lawsuit, and what issues you need to decide as the jury. And then it's time for the jury to deliberate. When you deliberate, you should be respectful of one another in the jury room and open to other people's thoughts.
One of the things I realized after jury duty was how 2 people can hear or see the same thing, but at very different conclusions. Every one of us brought our own unique life experiences into that courtroom. It was really helpful to go around the room and hear what each person had to say.
We treated each other with respect. Everyone had a chance to say whatever they wanted to say. The important thing is to have a relaxed but serious atmosphere where everyone feels free to say what they think.
We realized that the verdict we would reach would have serious consequences for the parties involved. It was up to us, 12 citizens from all walks of life, to determine the outcome. They were counting on us to be fair and impartial. So we each had the opportunity to say what we thought, and then everyone listened to everyone else.
There are some rules for jurors, and the judge will explain them to you, but there are a couple we should emphasize. And the first one is, No outside research about this case. No outside research means you can't look up anything about the case or read about the case on Google or any other search engine or website or newspaper. You can't use any social media for that purpose either. The reason you can't do any outside research is that it wouldn't be fair to the parties. Your verdict must be based only on the evidence presented in court. That's how our system works. It would be unfair to all the parties to base your decision on information from outside the courtroom. If you could just look up something online, the parties don't have the chance to challenge or explain that information. And who knows if what you're reading online is even accurate. So please, just listen to the evidence in court. That and only that is the evidence that the judge has decided is appropriate for you to hear. I'm glad you asked. The second important rule is: do not discuss the case with anyone, not even with the other jurors during the trial. Not in person, not by phone, not by email. While the trial is still going on, do not discuss this case with anyone, not even other jurors. Once the trial is over and it's time to deliberate, of course, all the jurors will talk and discuss the case. And when your jury service is concluded and you have been excused, feel free to talk to your loved ones, your family, your friends, anyone, but not until deliberations have concluded and you have been excused. Now, you may have other questions. Rest assured, if you have questions during jury selection, you'll be able to ask them in the courtroom. We hope this video helped give you an overview. And once again,
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing your civic duty and reporting for jury service.